Hello everyone, I welcome you all to this online course on genomics in immunohematology. I'm very glad to introduce myself, Mercy Rofina, a PhD student at CSIR Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. So before moving on with the contents and details of the course, I would like to start by quoting this statement by Jerome Groopman in one of his articles in the New Yorker magazine, which goes like, although our scientific understanding of the functions of blood is more sophisticated than ever, we remain enthralled to its primary mystique. Although this line is very subtle, it significantly portrays the importance of human blood and the journey it has crossed in all the decades. Having said that, this particular course is planned in a very simple and brief way to explain almost all concepts of human blood, including its history of discovery, the concept of variability in the human blood, different types of RBC antigens, and the categorization of different human blood group systems. What are all the different ways by which blood group profiling is done, especially the types of molecular diagnostics, and what could be the future advancements that we are expecting in the field of transfusion medicine. So having said that, quickly moving on to the introduction, we all know that human blood is a connective tissue which is composed of cells like RBCs, WBCs, platelets that are suspended in a liquid matrix called as plasma. So ever since history, blood has always been considered as a magical fluid, and there were two major beliefs. One is the loss of blood leads to death, and blood can be used to cure any type of illness. So most of the explorations and discoveries regarding the human blood started after a very significant discovery made by William Harvey, an English physician who has contributed significantly in the field of anatomy and physiology. So it was William Harvey who first discovered the concept of blood circulation. He stated that there's an organized system by which blood flows within the human body. So ever since this discovery, a lot of explorations happened in this field, and one of the significant or the landmark discoveries which happened regarding the human blood was made by Karl Landsteiner, who is an Austrian-American biologist, physician, and immunologist, who is highly revered as the father of modern blood transfusion. So it was Landsteiner who put forward the fact that human blood is not the same for all. He made this discovery when he was trying to work with the sera of his co-workers. He observed that the sera of healthy humans had an agglutination effect, not only when we mix it with the RBCs of animal blood cells, but also frequently upon the blood cells from other individuals. But his question here was whether this phenomenon is due to some inherent individual differences or due to the effect of some influenced damages. And further, after some further research, he identified two major antigens or agglutinogens in human blood called as the A and the B antigen. So for this landmark discovery, we all know that he won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in the year of 1930. So ever since the Landsteiner's discovery, one major concept was very well aware or very well established, which is there exists a basic variability in the human blood. This is because of the expression of some surface markers on the human red blood cells. These are called as blood group antigens. And we all know that these blood group antigens can either be sugar molecules or protein molecules, which are expressed on the surface of human RBC membrane. And based on the presence or absence of this expression, individuals are categorized into different blood groups. So, this particular discovery of these blood group antigens in the human RBCs did not just stop with the A and B antigen. There were multiple other factors which played a very significant role in determining this variability. And one such example popped up in the mid 19th century. This was the period of time when the concept of the presence and absence of A and B antigens was very well established in the field of human blood and transfusion science. So, in the mid 19th century, there was a mother of a stillborn child who was in need of a blood transfusion. Since the awareness about the ABO compatibility was very well established, ABO compatible blood was transfused from the patient's husband. Even after transfusing a compatible blood component, it was noted that the patient underwent severe adverse reactions. So it was at that time there was yet another major discovery was made in the field of human blood, which is the identification of RH factor in the human blood. So this factor is yet another antigen which plays a very significant role in determining the compatibility of blood components between two individuals. So having said that, when we look at the overall picture of the roadmap or the chronology of human blood group studies, we could see that this could be divided conveniently into two parts. All of those discoveries which were made before the landmark discovery of Landsteiner, which includes the records of very first blood transfusion efforts, successful blood transfusion in animals, animals to humans, and the records of severe transfusion events. And soon after the landmark discovery of the A and B antigens, there were multiple other progressive findings and explorations which happened in this field, like, for example, the introduction or the discovery of anticoagulant factors, establishment of blood banks, and campaigns for blood donation. Also, some rules and establishments for blood safety reports. And now we are at a time when a very well generated awareness has been created about the clinical use of human blood, and the mandate mentioned should be provided to the field of blood transfusion, which has become a very essential part of modern healthcare. So when we look at the blood safety and availability report provided by the WHO for the year of 2022, we see that on a global scale, around 118.5 million units of blood is being donated every year. And just in the United States, we see an estimate of about 5 million people who are in need of blood transfusion on an annual scale. With such huge numbers, we also note that globally we are falling back on a shortage of approximately 100 million units of blood per year. And now that we have started talking about the field of blood transfusion, one of the major concepts in the field of transfusion medicine is selection of a compatible donor or a donor component to be given to a patient or a recipient so that we prevent any harm that happens to the recipient, and we also aim at maximizing the post-transfusion RBC survival. So because we all know that prevention is always better than cure. So based on this concept, multiple pre-transfusion testing strategies or preventive strategies have been put on a clinical scale. And when we look at the routine practices which are being followed to deal with this variability or to rule out this variability is that, so whenever there is a patient sample or a recipient who is in need of a blood component or a blood sample, whenever it reaches a blood bank, the initial screening for compatibility testing or the blood group testing is performed, looking for the compatibility of major antigens like the A, B, and the RH, D antigen. So whenever there's an exact match found, then the blood product is dispatched. And whenever there is some mismatches, then the second level of investigation, which mainly includes looking for other factors or other antigens other than the ABO and RHD antigens, are usually looked upon on a clinical scale. So now talking about what are these non-ABO and RHD factors which decides the variability of human blood. So here we need to look upon those contributing factors which are beyond the ABO and the RHD horizon. Talking about that, the very well spread awareness or the expectation is that human RBCs expresses three major antigens, namely the A antigen, B antigen, presence of both A and B antigen, or absence of both A and B antigen, which we commonly call as the O blood group, and the RHD antigen, which decides the blood group of an individual. But in contrary to this most believed awareness, is the reality is that like the A, B, and D antigen, there are a total of 349 antigens which may or may not be expressed on the surface of human RBCs, and this collectively constitutes the complete blood group of an individual. When we look at the FDA's annual report for the year of 2019, we see that 75% of all the blood-related fatalities are caused by hemolytic transfusion reactions. And out of this, a very significant proportion, which is 21% of these fatalities, are associated with the adverse reactions which are caused by non-ABO antigens. That is, adverse reactions which are caused by mismatch or incompatibilities between the antigens, which are other than the A, B, and Rh-D antigens. To throw some more clarity into this concept of the non-ABO antigens and antibodies, we can have an example of a very interesting story. This story takes us back to the year of 2020, February, in Orlando, Florida, when the whole world responded to help save a girl who had a very rare blood group. So this toddler's name was Zainab Mughal, and this toddler was fighting cancer. Since she had to go through a lot of chemotherapy procedures, she was in need of blood components, constant need of blood components. And it was at that time the clinicians found out that Zainab's blood group was extremely rare, due to which it was very difficult to find compatible donor components to help this toddler. So it was found that Zainab's blood is extremely rare because she was missing a very common blood group antigen, which most of the people expressed it on their RBCs. This particular antigen is called as the Indian B antigen, the INB antigen. And with this, it became a very big news that it's not just the A, B, and RHD antigens, but there are multiple other antigens, out of which a few are clinically very much significant in deciding the success rate or the compatibility of blood between two individuals. Also, coming back to the numbers and statistics, we see, according to the blood safety report of WHO for the year 2021, we see that there are about 171 countries which have registered under the WHO's global database of blood safety. And according to this database, we see that the use of blood and the blood components, the pattern of use differs significantly among these countries. Especially in higher income countries, most of these blood components are used in conditions like cardiovascular disorders, surgery, trauma, and malignancies. Whereas when we look at the other profile, that is the low and middle income countries, most of this are used in settings like the pregnancy complications and in severe infantile anemia. And talking about the numbers for this particular year, we see that 743 cases have been reported from these countries, which were found to have an adverse reaction because of the mismatch or incompatibilities in their blood antigens. And again, when we look at the role of non-ABO antigens, we see that 44% of the above cases were associated with a non-ABO antigen incompatibility or mismatch. So how do we now talking about the further steps or the further efforts needed to increase the success rates or to bring better success rates in the blood transfusion procedures? First of all, we need to start working upon the betterment in the blood group profiling techniques. We need to screen in an effective way to decide the compatibility between the components, and to know that we need to dig deeper. That is, we need a very deep understanding on the molecular underpinnings of these blood group antigens. How are these blood group antigens expressed? What controls the expression of these blood group antigens? What are the regulatory factors? How does it look on a genetic or a molecular level? So that when all these are explored, it throws more light to bring some betterments in the type of diagnostics and screening which we perform to decide the compatibility. So in our upcoming courses, we are going to focus on all these concepts, like what are all the genetic background of these human blood group antigens? How has the techniques, like knowing the genetics, how has it helped in evolving the techniques of human blood group screening? What has been the past? How is it done in the present? And what could be the future advancements? And how has genomics played a role in improving the field of transfusion medicine? And finally, how are we going to extrapolate it on a population scale so that we can take it to the level of establishing registries on a population-specific blood bank registries, etc. So we will be covering each of these topics in the upcoming courses. So see you in the next course. Thank you.